Happy Kwanzaa if I don't see you at the time that occurs. Just a good to see you all. I love meetings that allow us to see the faces, and I understand that some of you may not have your cameras on, and that's okay. But if you can turn them on for just a second, I might just scroll through just to see all of your beautiful faces. So I am so excited to have this opportunity to meet with you all and to talk about the process of hiring our executive director. Our vice president, Kaven, is going to go over the full process with you, but this is the first of what will be many town halls that we will have in the upcoming year with our members just to connect, give you an opportunity to ask us questions, for us to share information with you, so that we're just not seeing you at the board meeting or at the events and things of that nature, but that we are connected to our members and you are connected to us. I will say that we have an outstanding personnel committee, and and there are probably some housekeeping rules that we didn't say, but if you could just make sure you're all muted. We want to see your faces, but just make sure you're all muted so everyone can hear. But the board appoints, upon the recommendation of the president, a personnel committee to assist in times as this in hiring an ED and in the staffing and things of that nature. But we have the best personnel committee ever. And I believe that our chairman, CJ Caven, will introduce them. But I want to say thank you to them in this process of identifying, and thank you. We had two personnel committees in the previous administration and this one. And so I thank our previous personnel committee and our current personnel committee who continue to work to hire our executive director. I also want to take this opportunity to thank our interim executive director. If you did have a chance to review the member newsletter and the greetings from the president that was sent as a link, you saw my expressions to her at that time. And then I'm going to ask that if our tech team, if you do hear or see somebody come off mute accidentally, if you could just hit the button to mute them, I appreciate it. But I wanted to publicly thank her in this forum as well, for serving as our interim executive director for the last 5 months. We appreciate her leadership and her time and her sacrifice to serve in that role. I want to also thank our staff. We have Dane Peterson here with us. If you've been following our communications, you know we've had staff to go on to bigger and brighter things, and we're excited for them. But we do have Dane with us, and I thank him as well for his work. And so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over. I'll be back to you at the end, but I at least wanted to extend those acknowledgments, welcome you all to this town hall, and I hope that we have the opportunity to answer your questions. We may not get to all the questions by the end, but if you put them in the chat or you send an email to the executive director, and we'll be sharing communication, how to connect with us if you don't know. We will be able to get those answers to you. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to our chairman of our personnel committee and Vice President Caven.
Well, thank you, Madam President. And I just want to say there's over 150 people. There's at the moment 155 people other than me on the call this evening. And I just want to say thank you for being present and coming to a town hall the week of Christmas. I know that this is a busy time of the year. There's holiday festivities going on for everybody, but it means a lot. It means a lot to me. I know it means a lot to our president and to our board that you're here with us this evening to talk about a really important topic, to talk about our executive director search and sort of what led us here. So I'm really excited as vice president. I thought that this job was going to be less work than my last job, and the president has told me that is not correct. And I'm excited to share some of the work that we've been doing on behalf of the membership the last couple of months. Before I jump into the presentation, as the president was talking, I sort of looked through the participants, and I think it's also important that we recognize our immediate past president, who was hugely responsible for getting us to this point where we could even be part of this conversation tonight. And I had the privilege of working for her as her parliamentarian and working with her in a bunch of different capacities. And I just want to say welcome to immediate past President Allison Wallace, who, without her leadership, we would not be where we are today in a number of areas, but particularly talking about a new executive director. So I want to recognize her, and if you can, just give her a round of applause for being with us here tonight. Well, that also gives me an opportunity to find the screen share options. So I think you can see my screen. What I want to do this evening is sort of walk through the process and a little bit of an overview of what we're going to do. You've already heard welcome and introductions from our president, from myself. But I really want to walk through the overview and the overview of the committee's charge in the process, how this decision impacts member services and expectations. We're going to introduce you to Jessica, our new executive director. We've already done that in a couple of emails. She's going to walk through her vision and next steps, and then the president and I are gonna have a conclusion and then wrap up. Um, the other thing I want to say is a version of this presentation is actually what the personnel committee shared with the board, and the board has voted to has authorized us to share portions of it with the membership, so you know what got us here, so you know where we've been, where we're at today, and where we're going. Unlike most of my presentations, this one's going to be hard for me. Please save your questions until the end. I normally want questions throughout. Please don't do that tonight. If you need to drop your questions in the chat, please do that. We made this a meeting on purpose instead of a webinar. We wanted to see your faces. We wanted to interact with you, but we also wanted to have that opportunity to have that chat feature that I know our incredible friend Dave Whitaker is going to be monitoring for us. Drop your questions in the chat. We'll get to those towards the end. So with that, as the president mentioned, I do want to introduce the personnel committee. Um, I've said this a bunch to the president. I've said this a bunch to the board. I've said this a bunch to the committee. I could not have asked for a better group of people to work with during this process. The thought of hiring an executive director for an organization as unique as ours, honestly, is a little bit intimidating. And when the president told me that she intended to make me the chair of the personnel committee, I seriously considered withdrawing my name as a candidate for an officer position. When I realized that wasn't going to work, I started to think about how are we going to do this? And one of the first conversations that the president and I had was who's going to be on the committee that's going to help make this decision. And I'm so grateful for the president's leadership on this, but I'm also grateful for our committee members. And I, as the president mentioned, I had the privilege to serve as the chair. I still serve as the chair through the rest of this biennium. Um, but serving along with the president and I, the president ex officio, obviously, is Director at Large Tamara D. Harris from District 2 and Director at Large Ramona Hill from District 6. And one of the things that became pretty clear pretty early on was the experience and the passion and the knowledge that these group of individuals brought to our task, and our task being, hiring the next executive director to lead us in to the future. When you're going to hear me talk more about this as well. So you're going to talk more about the committee as we move out, but if you see any of these people at any event or online or any unit meeting or an association meeting, be sure and thank them for their time. I don't want to know how much time we've spent on calls together over the last 4 months, but it has been a lot more than they bargained for. I promise you. And they deserve a tremendous amount of gratitude and thanks from our membership. So if you see them, please thank them for their leadership in this role. So what was our current situation? Where have we been? Where are we at, and where are we going? So our current situation, the 2023-2025 NAP board, that was the last board, charged the personnel committee to conduct a search for the next NAP executive director and adopted the following motion related to the search. That the personnel committee is hereby authorized to be a search committee for the purpose of identifying and recommending candidates for executive director. Upon completion of the search process, the search committee shall present a detailed report to the board outlining the criteria used in the selection process, an evaluation of candidates, and a final recommendation. The initial report and work product shall be transitioned to the new personnel committee at the beginning of the ensuing biennial. The final report must be submitted no later than December 31st, 2025, and the board retains the right to request additional information or clarification regarding the search committee's findings as deemed necessary. So this was the starting point. This is where the previous personnel committee, led by Chairman Ron Stinson of Texas, started their work and started the search before your president, certainly your vice president, was ever elected to their current roles. This has not been a 2-3 month process. This has been in the works, in process for about 6 months now. And the reason it took a longer time, I don't think it took a long time, but the reason it took a longer time is because, as you can tell from the motion that I just read from the previous slide, there was a lot to do. There was a lot of steps to go through. And I want to walk through what those general steps in the search process were. You'll get these slides will be handouts in NAP University. The recording will also be in NAP University. I'm going to read almost all of this. That way we're all on the literal same page. And I just apologize in advance for breaking all of those PowerPoint rules. So immediately after the 2023-25 Board of Directors adopted the charge, the search committee began soliciting applicants for the position using an identical job description as it used in 2015, which was the last time we hired an executive director. It was listed as Appendix A. It can be posted if we need to do that. The job description was only posted on the American Society for Association Executives, the ASAE Career Center page. And the previous research garnered 14 applications during approximately the 1 month that it was posted. And it was listed as a salary range of $75,000 to $85,000 per year and required the position to work completely on site in Independence, Missouri. Upon the conclusion of the 2025 biennial convention, the newly appointed personnel committee adopted a revised job description. Also, we can provide that as well. The primary distinctions were a focus on event planning and an expertise in governance. Additionally, the job description did not list a salary or a requirement that the successful applicant completely work on site in NAP headquarters. The search committee voted to send out the revised listing to all NAP members and set a deadline for when applicants would be accepted. This process garnered an additional 10 applications. The search committee determined that it would evaluate every candidate using an objective scoring system. This was developed primarily by Director Hill to evaluate the resumes and determine which top 5 candidates the committee would interview. And I think this is as good of a time as any to just briefly stop and say, your president mentioned that I've mentioned, our president mentioned the hard work of the personnel committee. I can say definitively that we would not be where we are today without the tremendous work and expertise of Director Ramona Hill. I'm a big believer in giving praise where it's due, and I also know that she can't mute me right now. Director Hill has done a tremendous service to our association in the past couple of months. One that I hope that I can live up to the standard that she has given us, and that every leader and board member and future association president or future leader in NAP can match the level of expertise and dedication and work that she has put into this search committee process. We would not, it's fair to say, I know the president would agree, we would not be where we are today without the tremendous expertise and knowledge and passion of Ramona Hill. And I just want to take a moment to publicly thank her as well. Um, and I'll say that probably a few more times, but I made a note here to say that because I listed her name in the slide. So that was sort of the general steps in the search process. How we continued after we got the applications in. Um, Director Hill, in with the approval of the committee, developed criteria that were used to evaluate both the written materials submitted by the candidates. That evaluation was also the foundation for the live interviews. And a high level overview of that criteria was the years of association management or related professional experience, years of event planning experience, mission and values alignment. So, what are is there a demonstrated passion for our association's mission, alignment with organizational values, and commitment to association service? What was the leadership and vision of the candidates? Is there a proven capability to provide strategic vision, inspire diverse stakeholders, and lead collaboratively? Board governance and management, a demonstrated ability to work effectively with the board of directors, as well as an understanding and respect for governance structures and best practices in compliance with relevant local, state, and federal rules governing associations. And do those candidates have association management credentials or equivalent experience? Fundraising and resource development, experience with fostering internal and external donor relation programs, writing grants, developing effective corporate and government partnerships, and instituting resource development strategies. There's lots of criteria. Operations and financial management, identified experience in association budgeting and resource allocation, governance, government compliance, and standard association nonprofit operations, staff and volunteer development. This was hugely important to the committee. History of successfully managing small to mid-sized staff operations and allocating limited resources, a record of building sound volunteer partnerships and motivating volunteer collaboration, and a demonstrated ability in supervising, motivating, and developing staff and volunteers. And finally, this is the last slide on what we were looking for. As you can tell, there was a lot. Community engagement and partnerships, experience building external partnerships, representing organizations with other groups, as well as generally advocating for the profession and mission. Communication skills, sound written, verbal, and interpersonal skills to inform and influence a diverse set of stakeholders. Analytical and innovation skills, demonstrated ability to use critical thinking, data analysis, and research to break down complex problems, generate new ideas, and develop creative solutions. And then experience in helping organizations adopt, innovate, and handle challenges proactively. And then finally, overall leadership impression. Did we generally think that the candidate, the applicant, was suited for the role? So those were the 10, I believe it was 10. I lost count. I should have numbered them. I believe it was 10 categories that we searched for. And that's a lot. That's a lot for us to talk about. But with 24 applications, this was the process that the committee decided to objectively go through as we looked at the applications. So the candidate evaluations, what the committee did is each committee member independently evaluated and scored the application packets. And then a summary of scores was distributed to the committee. That summary provided the basis for narrowing down the applicants, and the top 5 scores were invited to a 45-minute interview with the committee. Now, I want to make sure you heard me correctly. All 24 applicants received the same objective analysis at the beginning. There were names that the committee knew, and there were names that the committee didn't know. And all of them received the same objective analysis at the very beginning. And I will tell you, this process took some time. For me, this process took longer than all of the actual interviews did for me. Sitting down, going through all of the criteria that we had developed, and giving an objective score across the board. This was a very thorough process that every member of the committee did. All four of us did for every single applicant before we ever got to people who we wanted to interview. So we took the top five scores and invited them to a 45-minute interview. Director Hill created, again, huge plug for Director Hill. That's why these are reminders for me more than anything of to say Director Hill's amazing. Director Hill created interview questions for the committee to review and refine before the first interview. The final questions were reduced to two or three questions per category listed above. So that long list of those several slides I went through of all those different categories, we had two or three questions in each one of those categories. The committee interviewed four of the candidates on November 4th and 5th, 2025. One candidate that we had reached out to did not respond for an interview request. So one of the five candidates rather, didn't respond. So we only interviewed four. Each participating committee member independently evaluated and scored the interviews, and a summary of the scores was then distributed to the entire committee. And then the committee met on Wednesday, November 12th, 2025, to review the summary of the scores and deliberate on its final recommendation to the board. And I'll just say, this isn't in a slide anywhere, but I'll just say across the board, all of our scores, which were independent and objective, were consistent across the board with the rankings, and that matched the reflections of where that individual member would want to go. Those were always consistent across the board. So let's talk about some practical considerations. I already mentioned we did some things differently when we posted the job description the second time. The first one was, and I said this, we did not include that there was an absolute requirement that you live or work around Independence, Missouri. That was the first thing. We also didn't include a salary range, but the big thing was we didn't include that requirement that you had to have proximity to Independence, Missouri, or that you had to move. The personnel committee discussed and determined that the applications and interviews would be conducted with any qualified candidate, regardless of their ability to live or work around Independence, Missouri. This decision enabled the committee to review and interview candidates with a wide range of experiences, significantly expanding the talent pool. The decision to have the possibility of a remote or hybrid executive director is not a consideration the committee took lightly. However, based on the needs of our members and the changing evolution of work, the committee determined that a remote or hybrid executive director could meet the needs of the association and likely, in our belief, strengthen additional aspects of our operations. The committee believes that a remote or hybrid executive director enables NAP to grow and adapt more effectively, meeting the evolving needs of our members and better aligning with industry best practice. I'm going to go slightly off script because I didn't include this anywhere, and I think it's important. This does not mean that our office is closing. And I want you to hear me. This does not mean that our office in Independence, Missouri is closing. It does not mean that. So please don't leave this call and go tell your friends or your colleagues or your units or associations that the office is that we don't have an in-person executive director. We're not going to have an office anymore. That is not what I'm saying. So please don't leave with that as a takeaway. And if I hear that, I've seen many of my friends on this call. You know me, I am very shy. I will show up at your unit and association meeting and play this clip of this call to ensure that you're not taking this away. That is not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that the committee and the board believes that some of these practical considerations can be overcome if we keep in mind a couple of guiding principles. And those guiding principles are: one, meeting members where they are, not where we think they are, where they have been, or where we would like them to be, but meeting members where they are. Number two, aligning with industry trends and best practices. I'll talk more about this in just a moment. And then prioritizing the quality of candidates. That is hugely important, and those were guiding principles for the work of the committee. So let me dive into these briefly. So we're all on the same page. One, meeting members where they are. NAP leadership decisions should reflect how members live, work, and engage today. Flexible leadership models support responsiveness, accessibility, and service to a geographically diverse membership. And NAP is geographically diverse. 8 districts, a couple of countries, 4,000 plus members, 40 plus associations, hundreds of units. We are a diverse membership. And not all of our work happens between 8 and 5 Central Time. Although if it's going to happen, it should be in Central Time. I'm from Oklahoma. Everything should be in Central Time. Not all of our members work that way. Not all of our members practice that way. Not all of our members engage that way. And I think we need to be responsive to that. So the first thing, meeting members where they are, not necessarily where we've been. Number two, aligning with industry trends and best practices. So I'm not gonna dwell too much on this, but I think it's fair to say that the way that we work today for a lot of our careers, for a lot of our professions, is different than how we worked 5 years ago, or 2 years ago, or 3 years ago. The evolution of work and how we provide services has changed. And what we know about our members is that if you're a member of NAP, you're likely a member of a lot of other organizations as well. And in fact, that's how many people become involved with NAP, because they see their organizational meetings run not as well as they'd like, and they think, man, there's got to be a better way. And there is. And we know that. But many of your organizations, many of my organizations that I'm a member of outside of NAP, already have adopted similar models. The association and how we operate must evolve alongside modern nonprofit and association management practices. Remote and hybrid leadership structures are increasingly standard and can strengthen organizational effectiveness when implemented thoughtfully. And one thing I know Director Hill has said to me numerous times was, whatever we do, we got to do it well. We got to implement it thoughtfully. So part of the conversation that the committee had was, if we do this, how do we ensure we do it well? How do we ensure that this transition, this change happens well? And that became part of our consideration of candidates also. And the third guiding principle, prioritizing the quality of candidates. The strongest leadership emerges when selection criteria focuses on experience, competence, and mission alignment rather than physical location. Expanding the candidate pool enhances the likelihood of securing exceptional leadership for NAP's future. As I said, the Personnel Committee made that deliberate decision to consider all qualified candidates regardless of their geographic proximity. And again, this allowed the committee to evaluate candidates based off of qualifications, experience, and alignment with NAP's mission, rather than location alone. This expanded and deepened the quality of the candidate pool. So with those things said and in mind, what the committee did was we asked the board to adopt our final recommendation, which was that the NAP Personnel Committee unanimously recommended, and the board of directors unanimously hired Jessica Herzog as the next NAP executive director. And I do think it's important, and it's important to recognize the use of the word unanimous. I don't like using the same word twice in the same sentence. While that's very lawyerly of me, that's not great grammar, but it does send the right message that the personnel committee unanimously recommended Jessica and the board unanimously hired Jessica. So with that, what I'd like to do now is transition into introducing you to Jessica. Before I ask her to come and share her vision in the future of NAP, I want you to do all. I want you all to do something that you're not supposed to do in class, and I want you to take out your phones. Um, and and we'll try to drop this in the chat as well. Um, if you'd like to scan and download Jessica's resume, uh, I thought it was important that we share some of Jessica's background with the membership. And what I was willing to share was not as much as what Jessica was willing to share. So what you're going to be able to download is a near complete packet of what the committee had. There's some redactions here and there. That's going to be pretty obvious as to why. If Dane, if we can drop the link in the chat as well. I don't have it handy, but you're the person that's going to be able to find it as the quickest. If we could drop the link in the chat as well, in case they want to read it on their computer. Um, please review what the committee reviewed. And if you have concerns about anything that I've talked about so far, take a look at this resume first. Um, and you will see what I think the committee saw, which is if we're going to make this change, if we're going to make this decision, man, this is the person to do it with. And at least that was my perspective. And I think the committee would agree with that. So take a minute, take a photo of that. We'll get that dropped in the chat in just a moment. And with that, for the very first time, I'm gonna stop sharing the slides for a second. Along and on behalf of the president and the board, I want to introduce you to our new executive director. Uh, and I didn't say this previously. Jessica Herzog, a member of the Hawaii Association of Parliamentarians, our new executive director as of about a week ago. Welcome, Jessica.
Thank you so much, CJ. I do want to begin by expressing my sincere appreciation to the Personnel Committee and to the Board of Directors, showing diligence and care and thoughtful stewardship throughout this process. I'm deeply honored by the trust that you have placed in me, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to serve the National Association of Parliamentarians, especially coming up as a member myself. It's a very big honor for me, so thank you. NAP has a remarkable legacy. I'm learning more every day. It's been built by dedicated volunteers and leaders who believe in the power of fair and orderly and democratic decision making. I'm looking forward to working collaboratively with the board, our committees, our staff, and most importantly, our members. I know that we will strengthen and advance this profession that we all care so deeply about. So thank you again for your confidence and your commitment to NAP and for being here tonight. And I have prepared a few slides to further introduce myself and our transition plan. If we can keep that on the screen and we can move forward. CJ, do you mind controlling the slides for me? Thank you. All right, so we can go ahead through into our first slide, which is the focus on implementation. So just a rough outline of what the members can expect. I had prepared during the interview process a transition plan for the board should I be lucky enough to get an interview, and so that once the interview concluded, I was able to offer them a website that they could visit and have a visual of how I saw myself coming on board and what my goals and ambitions would be to have a successful transition. So part of that included a structured and phased transition with clear milestones. And continuity of operations during leadership is huge for me. I don't want the members to feel any squeeze on this change. Also including measurable improvements in communication and responsiveness, and systems that support members, staff, volunteers, and board priorities are obviously paramount. Thank you, CJ. So, experience that supports execution. I do have a varied background in lots of different things. Those 10 points on their employment search were, each one was a different category. So it was hard to fill that position. And fortunately, it just so happened that my background kind of had a little bit of everything that you were looking for, or sometimes a lot. So with that being said, event planning and project management focused on follow through, participant experiences, and measurable success was something I was very used to from several employment and volunteer positions that I had held. Nonprofit leadership and public service is something I'm very passionate about. I've been volunteering since I was a high school student. So whether I was on a paid board or volunteering, I do have a deep commitment to mission-driven work. And operation versatility, that's me in a nutshell. I am very comfortable wearing many hats in a fast-moving environment. So far, this process has definitely been like jumping on a treadmill that's already going full speed, as I've been saying, but I can run fast, so we're okay. Next slide, please. So part of the plan I delivered to the board was a segmented leadership plan, and it focuses on structure over location. However, I was very adamant that I'd be willing to come out to headquarters, meet with the staff, get the lay of the land, and that was what the first few weeks would be focused on, building the relationships and the rapport with our existing staff and getting to know the boards and the committee members, and just kind of getting my bearings. We're almost already into our second phase now, which is our true transition, implementing communication systems, defining our goals, and standardizing reporting so that hopefully we can get members what they need quickly. Thank you, TJ. Next slide. Carrying on with the plan, we've got a 3 to 5 month goal for strategic implementation to deliver an operational audit and a first progress report to the board. And then wrapping up the last half of the year, focusing on maintenance and improving existing systems and services. We have a lot of tools at our disposal, different programs that we use to track our data and offer our courses. So getting to know those programs in and out. Once I'm there, I'll be able to give us a really well-defined evaluation and hopefully plan for how to utilize them the best for our membership and for our association's goals. Thank you, CJ. So there were a lot of, considerations that the board had to make in moving towards a different type of executive role. And I appreciate them being open-minded and willing to, take this leap of faith in me. Remote work is not for everyone. So in order to make sure that everyone feels I'm being held accountable, we have set out, several goals that will be able to, measure my success here. According to the slide we've got measured execution and reporting. That would include implementation through the phase transition plan we just touched on, including clear deliverables and evaluation points for the board. The plan was also designed to support continuity, accountability, and measured outcomes, as well as the success being assessed through documented progress, reporting, and results. I am all about action. I am a problem solver. I don't come with problems. I am here for solutions. So I am, ready and willing to put in the work to make sure that our members are being taken care of. That is my number one priority, that the board's will is being fulfilled and executed accordingly. And I don't think I need to be anywhere specific to do that. And so I appreciate the opportunity to be able to execute this very valuable work, from where I currently live. Next slide, please. One unique thing that may, I think, be a great strength, others might, not feel the same, but being a member prior to stepping into this role has given me that inside track. I've been able to see what the organization looks like as a newbie. And so I was very thankful. I had great mentors in my state to bring me in and help me pass my membership exam. But I think that this perspective is an asset. So it brings a firsthand understanding of NAP's culture and member experience. I am informed by the respect for the credentialing process and its integrity. I am also going to voluntarily pause my credentialing pursuits while I'm employed, because I think that's important to keep those separate. And I am absolutely grounded in service to the members, volunteers, and this profession. I am beyond passionate about everything parliamentary procedure. And, yes, it's a job, but this is much more than a job for me. So again, very thankful and grateful that I was chosen. Next slide, please. Going back to my, thank you. My focus is going to be threefold here. The organizational process. I want to make sure that we have everything clearly documented. We've got systems in place that support all of our stakeholders. I am all about transparency when it comes to financial stewardship, responsible oversight, and resource management. I'm frugal. I'm the queen of, can I get it for free? So don't worry, I am going to be watching every dollar that I can to make sure that it is spent well. We all pay our dues, and that's important to me, that they are well managed and properly allocated, and that we really get the best bang for our buck, no matter where we're spending it. Sustainable business development. I've helped a lot of small business owners grow their business, and I love it. It's something I'm very passionate about. Thoughtful growth that strengthens NAP long term while honoring our mission and values is definitely going to be a cornerstone for me. I think more than anything, I want the world to know who NAP is. And I think that our work is so important that, that's definitely going to champion my focus once we get settled and I'm able to explore, fun projects like outreach and driving up membership. Next slide, please. So touching on myself personally, this is, really the core of who I am. I do believe that solutions exist even when they're not visible. I don't give up. I don't quit. I just keep thinking, take a break, take a walk, and I will come back with a viable solution, or I keep going at it. So you've got me in your corner, whatever the problem may be. I always welcome, whether it's members, committee members, board members, I'm here for you. And I won't give up. I've got your back. A commitment to curiosity, persistence, and constructive thinking. I am a doer, and I love to work with folks. I love to collaborate. I spent time on a planning commission for many years when I was in my early 20s, and I learned a lot there about collaboration and cooperation and finding that middle ground, trying to, you can't make everybody happy, but you can try to find a way where everybody can live with decisions that are being made. So that is something that I've cultivated over the years, and I hope to bring to the table here when we have to make tough decisions. And my confidence that intention and effort shape our outcomes. So I'm one of those people, you believe it, you think it, you can achieve it. Or what you think about, you bring about. And I have been, working my whole life that way. And I've achieved almost all my dreams, to be honest. If we're really being honest here, this is another one of my dreams. I'm very honored to be here. And, it's one of those things where you keep something in your mindset and you work towards that goal. and, luck, faith, grace, whatever brings you there. But determination and not giving up is something that I am very thankful for, that has been something I carry with me, and keeping that intention and focus on what our goals are together is going to be my plan here. Does that bring us to our last slide, CJ? All right. So I believe we can turn it over back to CJ so that we can move into our portion for questions and answers. Thank you so much for allowing me to share a little bit more about myself.
So, first of all, you've gotten to get to know Jessica a little bit, and I hope you've seen what we saw. And hearing it again reminds me of why I think that the personnel committee and the board made the right decision the first time. Reminds me of the hope that I have for our association moving forward. No pun intended for the slide content. And hearing it again presented to the membership, for me, the last several months of working on this behind the scenes is a relief. So I hope you have the same sense of hope and optimism, which are not my natural traits for any of you that know me. But I hope you share the sense of hope and optimism that I have for our association as we move into our second century. And I'm very hopeful for that. With that, before we move towards the next slide asks for questions. Before we move to questions, I do want to bring back the president to provide any comments that she would have before we move into questions and before we wrap up.
Thank you, CJ. So I echo what CJ has said. I hope that you have gotten a little more insight into who our executive director is. I will tell you, upon meeting her, officially meeting her when we went to headquarters, I guess it's been a couple of weeks ago now. It was a wonderful experience. Not only was I able to see firsthand what I saw in writing and through the experience of the interview process, but I also got to know her as a person and an individual. We had a really great time, and I have to tease the vice president because he had a client and wasn't able to join us, and he hates to be not included in the fun, but we had a good time. And she had the opportunity to meet staff and get to know the operations and things of that nature. And I also want to echo the sentiments regarding the personnel committee. I am not going to just completely call out Director Hill alone, because I've also come to learn that she is a very sincere and humble woman. And while she appreciates the acknowledgement, I saw her, I've seen her blush. So I'll just leave it there. And to say that our other committee member, Tamara Harris, worked just as diligently as all of us in reviewing those applications. And that was a lot of work and time. And so I applaud all of the efforts of the entire committee. And I guess let me just take this time now to also acknowledge our board members. They are on, and I'm going to ask them to raise their hand just so you can quickly see them, who they are. And let me say that the expressions that have been shared regarding Director Hill extend to, and I can see some of y'all, and y'all haven't raised your hands yet, so that you can be spotlighted. But those expressions extend to our other board of directors. And I want to say to our delegates, you did an excellent job in selecting these members to serve on your board and to represent you. They have been appointed to board positions, committees based on the skill sets and the expertise that they have, and they have been doing an outstanding job. And so I did want to take this opportunity to express my appreciation to them and let you know that you were right on point in your election of them. So I will turn it. I might have another word or two at the conclusion, but I do want to get to questions and answers. So thank you, CJ, for this opportunity.
Well, thank you, Madam President, for that. At this point, and I mean, I'm not going to bring up the slide that says questions because that seems dumb. But if you have questions, I've already seen one in the chat. I'm going to answer that one first. But if you have questions, raise your hand, drop it in the chat. We chose meeting so that we could have a conversation. So if you want to unmute and ask your question, that'd be great too. But start doing that. There was a question in the chat from a while ago that I grabbed so I didn't lose it. The question was, what is the salary range and does it include moving? Well, first, I'm going to put on my I'm a lawyer hat, not your lawyer. We're not going to get into the specifics of the contract. However, I would say that the salary range is comparable to the area for an executive director in and around Independence. It's comparable to what we were paying the previous executive director, and all of the salary benefits, all of the executive director related expenses combined is consistent with what we were paying the previous executive director. And it does not include moving expenses because, this question was asked well before I got into slide 52 of this, but we don't expect the executive director to be moving. And that's part of this conversation as well. So wanted to answer that question up front. Can you discuss how you will navigate the time differences? This is not for me. Jessica, you wanna take that one?
Absolutely. Great question. Obviously, I am currently 4 hours, is it behind, of Central. So I wake up and get online here at 4 a.m. to start the 8 a.m. day with Dane in the office. And I had already been doing that for my job here locally in Hawaii because I worked at a construction company whereby I reported in person at 5:30 a.m. So my schedule honestly hasn't changed much. So it's not really an issue for me. And living in two different time zones has been strange. It's going to take some time to get used to it. I've got my laptop from the company where I keep looking at Central Time and then I realize I'm somewhere else. So I'm ready to eat lunch and I don't even know what time it is. So yeah, it's been fun. But as far as the physicality of it, I've already been training. So I'm up and awake and ready to go. You can call me anytime during our business hours, and I don't mind if you need to reach out after hours because I'm still awake and it's still early for me. So that's the bonus. If people are needing some help after hours, I'll be around. And I hope that'll also allow me to attend many of our, various meetings and visit the units and associations because I won't be exhausted and it's not, 10 o'clock my time. So I'm looking forward to that.
Right. Any other? I don't think I missed any questions in the chat, but any other comments or questions or?
I have a question. I couldn't finish writing it in the chat, so I logged on here.
Go for it.
Susan Norwood. Ms. Herzog, welcome. I love everything you described about the way you go about things. My question is, and I'm losing it as a senior moment. Had you aspired to become an executive director of an organization one day?
Absolutely. I've, worked with various organizations as a consultant, but I am very passionate about my nonprofit work. And I spent 7 years with the Women's Forum of Catalina Island, California as a volunteer because I couldn't stop, couldn't stop myself. I was just so passionate about it. I worked that like it was a full-time job. So being able to find an organization that I'm in tune with, that I'm passionate about. I'm not a great salesperson unless I believe in the product. I cannot sell just anything to anyone. But if I believe in something, you better believe I can bring that message home. So to be able to fit in, with folks that are like-minded and value what our profession brings to the world is a dream come true. Absolutely.
Great. So one of the things that our members know about me is I'm a big believer in if there's no objections, we're not going to dwell on something, but if there are additional questions or comments, now's the time.
And CJ, if I may, people may sleep on it and think about something, and they are always welcome to reach out to headquarters and, ask their questions if something comes up later. My door, my phone lines, my email, my chat, my Zoom is going to always be open to everyone.
I do ask our members to send any personnel questions about the process, the hiring
CJ?
to cj@nap2.org. And
Absolutely.
he can
Gloria,
put that in the chat.
I can do that. Gloria, I see you came off mute.
I did. I'm not sure what's going on the screen, but if you can hear me, what I would say is I think you have selected a very, very competent person, and I'm so pleased to join this call and to thank the committee and to extend a very warm welcome from Minnesota. Now, I may not meet you here, but we would certainly like to welcome you, and I'm really pleased. This notice, when I saw it today, I thought, well, I definitely want to be at this meeting, and I am so glad to be here and see such a positive and outstanding job by everybody. I'm sure that sums up what other people are thinking. At least I hope it does.
Well, thank you, Gloria. I appreciate those kind words, particularly from somebody who is a good friend of mine. I appreciate that, and I know on behalf of the committee and the board, and I think Jessica, we appreciate those kind words as well. Any other questions or comments? I did drop my email address in the chat. If you do have questions about the process or anything related to that, please email me. I'll be happy to get your response as quickly as possible. I saw my good friend Weldon unmute and then go muted again.
Well, yeah, well, I kind of thought I might not ask my question, but I'll go ahead and ask it. It's kind of peripheral. As a retired military officer, I realize that when the commander's not at the headquarters, somebody's got to be in charge locally. Who's that going to be?
Let me jump in on that. Weldon, you know me. I'm maybe a little too honest sometimes. We're working on it. This is certainly a change, not just for Jessica coming in, but also for as we've announced, other staff members have left, and we're working on that of what that's going to look like. But I think the best answer I can give, and Jessica, if she wants to provide more context, I think the best answer we can give is we're working on it.
Yeah, and I will have to say I am very impressed with your choice, and I agree that she doesn't have to be physically located in Independence.
I appreciate that. Jessica, anything you want to add to Weldon's question?
Well, I did want to acknowledge Dane, who's been with us several years and is a valuable asset that we have as an on-site presence. And we've got Susan still working for us in the bookstore, helping to get all of the orders out. So we are able to maintain operations there. And the majority of what comes through is truly phone calls and emails. So fortunately, I'm able to jump in and assist with that very easily. And we will be looking to, fill some of the vacancies that we have on the staff. And we're going to take our time and make sure that we bring more quality folks on board and that we kind of structure everything to the best to ensure that the members are getting the service that they deserve. Thank you.
And if I could, and Weldon, I so appreciate your question, and I'm glad you asked it because it is important. One of the things I think as parliamentarians is hard for us sometimes is not knowing the right answer. As evidence, if you've been to any of our conventions, is not knowing the right answer sometimes. But here, I think that's, in my opinion, a blessing for us not always knowing the right answer because as I'm going to say what Jessica said, I'm just going to say it a little bit differently. We want to find the right people, not just the people that are right here. And I think the right people don't always live in the right area, that at least the right area where we would like them to live. And as I've told the committee and the board a bunch of times, where my normal workspace is seat 10C on an American Airlines flight. And that's true for a lot of our profession. We're a pretty remote group, a remote working group, and if that's good enough for us, I think it should be good enough for our staff too. There was a question in the chat before I go back to anybody who's live. Is the contract for a single year or multiple? Is there an annual review? How will that work? Great question, Jeff. I'm going to answer only half of it on purpose. I'm not going to get into the specifics of the contract of the length of time. There is an annual review. The annual review is conducted by the personnel committee per the board's operating policies, and that'll be shared with the board at the appropriate times.
CJ, if I may.
Francis, absolutely. And I agree with your comment that we should have a national convention in Hawaii. That did not go unnoticed, my friend.
Thank you very much. I have a grandson that was born in Hawaii, and I have never managed to visit there. So I'll look forward to doing that. However, that's on the side. I just wanted to share that I am on another national board of directors, the League of United Latin American Citizens, and we have a remote CEO. He lives in Florida, but our national office is in Washington, D.C. There is no problem with how the CEO manages, directs, raises funds, et cetera, et cetera, all of the things that we are asking our executive director to do. Of course, that includes traveling to the national office on a regular basis and helping direct and maintaining communication. But in the modern world, electronic communications is so fabulous that we can almost talk to each other like we used to talk to each other on the phone when I was dating as a teenager. So even better. So I'm just saying that I have great hopes for the future of NAP, and I have no reservations whatsoever that our new executive director, Jessica, welcome. Thank you for even considering being our executive director with all of your qualifications and experience to calm the fears of anyone or reservations of any of our members that may have reservations about remote communications from Hawaii. Hawaii is a part of the United States of America, just like Texas is. Okay, so let's go for it. Viva la raza.
Well, I appreciate that, Francis. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. There was a question in the chat about the original job description stated that the person should be in proximity to Missouri. Are there plans to change that language so we're in compliance? So we're not changing our headquarters. Our bylaws are clear that NAP's headquarters is in Jackson County, Missouri, and our headquarters is in Jackson County, Missouri. Our executive director is not. I think we're fully in compliance with our governing documents. Believe me, as your past parliamentarian, if I thought we were out of compliance with our governing documents, this would be a different conversation. But our headquarters is very much in Jackson County, Missouri. And if the membership had a desire to make a change about that in the future, that's up to them to do at a convention. Any other questions, comments? Anything? We've heard lots of praise about, the remote work. I mean, if there's concerns about it, we want to hear that too. One of the things that the president and the board and the personnel committee and I know your new executive director is insistent upon is that we hear the concerns that you have That way we can hear them, understand them, find ways to ensure that those aren't actual issues or concerns in the future. So if you've got concerns or praise, I'll take both, but I prefer something constructive. Unless we're talking about Director Hill again, and then it's all the praise in the world. If you've got concerns, we want to hear those too. All right. Well, again, I'm a big believer in not shockingly not having longer meetings than necessary. And if there's no questions or further comments, I want to kick it back over to the president. There was one last question that just popped in. Will standard time for events remain Central Time? Absolutely. That is the time zone of the office. And the time zone of the office will remain the time zone for all of our events. But with that, I'll kick it back over to the president for any closing comments that she might have.
I just want to say thank you to the Chief Assistant to the President, CJ Caven, for leading our discussion this evening and his leadership of the Personnel Committee. He's truly an asset to me and a dear friend. I hope you have enjoyed this opportunity to communicate with you, to share with you, to give you information, the transparency that we are able to share. This is just the beginning. Again, there will be other town halls that we will have through this administration, just to share information with you and to get your feedback. Because as CJ mentioned, we really do want to hear from our members. And so however many opportunities we need to make that available, we want to be able to do that. So again, I wish everyone a wonderful, wonderful holiday. Thank you so much for taking time from your family and friends to join us this evening. I do want to thank Dave Whitaker, our technology host. I appreciate you, Dave. Thank you so much. And CJ, I think, is that all for us? Or do you have anything else?
That's it, Madam President. You're the opening and closing finale for us tonight.
But thank you all. Have a very wonderful evening and blessed holiday.